Today, I'm going to be reviewing the first pair of beginning climbing shoes that I've ever gotten, the Evolve Defy old versions. I got these around 3 weeks ago and they've been really nice and I'm really excited to review them, so let's get right into the video. I'm going to be rating these shoes based on 6 different categories, which are how they look, how they fit, how comfortable they are, how they perform with various things such as like toe hooks, heel hooks, stuff like that, how they feel on the wall, how durable they are, and also the price. For reference, I am a pretty new climber. I started climbing a month ago. I've only been using these for around 3 weeks, which is most of my climbing journey so far. And the climbs that I usually do are V0s, V1s, and V3s. Oh, and V2s, of course, forgot. But I've not been able to climb anything higher than a V3 yet. So these shoes, I'm really just rating from a beginner's perspective, which makes sense because the Evolve Defy, I think, is usually a more beginner-focused shoe, at least the old version. So let's get right into it. I'm going to be starting with how well they fit. So my current shoe size is 13, just with regular shoes. And with climbing shoes, as you probably know, you need to usually get a few sizes up or a few sizes down, or maybe like half a size up, half a size down. It really just kind of depends on the brand. So with this particular brand, for example, you need to size up. So since I'm a size 13 in regular shoes, I got a 13.5 in these shoes. And these fit really well right now, but they didn't necessarily fit really well when I bought them. So let me explain. When I bought these shoes, they were actually quite tight. They hurt in the toes and my toes were at the very top of the shoes and curled down a little bit. This is actually what you want when you're buying climbing shoes. And that might seem weird, but you want your shoes to hurt a little bit and for your toes to be curled up at the top a little bit. This is why. With climbing shoes, you really need to have a tight shoe. You don't want a loose shoe when you're climbing. It's really hard to stick hold and your shoes could slip and it's just not good to have loose shoes. You have a lot more control if you have tight shoes. That's why you want to get a size that fits your foot as closely as possible. So the reason why you want it to be even a little bit tighter than that, than fitting your foot perfectly, is because the rubber will actually grow out and the shoes will expand. This will happen, for me it happened around 3 or 4 times of climbing only after buying the shoes. The rubber just kind of expanded and I didn't feel really any more pain. Now when I climb with these shoes, I feel absolutely no pain and it's just super great to climb with them. So you want your feet to be a little bit uncomfortable at first. So all that being said, I would grade the fit of these shoes a 5 out of 5. That is because the rubber expanded and my feet now fit perfectly into them and they're not too big. The rubber didn't expand too much. It just expanded to the size of my foot. So these are super great. I never have any problems getting into or out of the shoes. And I really like the laces because you can kind of control how tight they are on your foot more so than Velcro. And it's easier to adjust when you're in the middle of a climbing session. You can just like loosen or tighten the laces and it's really, really nice to have laces in my opinion on shoes. They're usually a little bit more expensive. I think the laces on these shoes were around $10 more than the Velcro version. So if you're looking for your own climbing shoes, I would suggest testing both out just to see what you prefer. Okay, I know I've already talked about comfort, but the next category that I'm going to be rating these shoes on is indeed comfort. I have to say these shoes are extremely comfortable. I really, really like the comfort of these shoes and how they feel both on and off the wall. When I was trying on these shoes for the first time, they hurt a little bit on the wall because like I said before, they were a little bit tight, but since they expanded, they now feel perfectly comfortable. And I would have to say these shoes get a 5 out of 5 on the comfort level. Evolve Defy, especially the old version, is known for giving a more comfortable beginner style shoe, so definitely the comfort here is amazing. And I would have to agree with how they designed it because it definitely feels like a very comfortable beginner style shoe, but that's still really precise and really good on the wall. I have heard that the new Evolve Defy version sacrifices comfort just a little bit because it's more geared toward performance instead of comfort and beginner style shoe. And I actually did try on the new Evolve Defy and it digged a little bit into my heels. So that was just my experience, but I'm sure they're super great for a lot of people and they're definitely better for performance, I would say. Okay, let's talk about durability now. How well have these shoes held up over the 3 weeks that I've had them? Well, I'm going to show you around the shoes. So here are the toes. I honestly don't do many toe hooks as a beginner. I don't know how to do them. Well, I know how to do them, but I just don't really find many boulders that need them. So the toes have actually held up great. There's no holes in the toes. I have heard from someone that a lot of the times that shoes break, there's usually a hole that appears in the toes. So these toes are really good. The rest of the shoes are great. The bottoms don't have any holes or anything. They are a little bit chalky. I do have to wash them. It's usually not good to keep chalk on the bottom of your shoe, so I'm probably gonna wash these off a little bit. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with how well the shoes have held up. There's no holes. There's no breakage in the shoes at all. They look pretty pristine. Honestly, if I washed them, I think they would look like pretty much new. I've only had them for 3 weeks though, so I have to say that I'm not really sure how often shoes break down, climbing shoes. I heard that you need to usually get like 2 pairs a year, but I guess it definitely depends on how much you climb. I'm a tennis player, and stuff like that, like how often you need to repair your tennis strings, usually just depends on how much you play tennis. So it's probably the same for climbing shoes. So I don't know if you can actually see this, but the strings or the laces near the holes of the shoe, near the tongue of the shoe, have gotten a little bit darker, and I don't really know if they are kind of deteriorating or not, but that has been something that I noticed. I'm not really sure if it's a big deal or if the laces will break one day. I'm just going to say for now that this doesn't really affect the durability of the shoe because the laces are still in good condition. I can still tie them and they're not really broken. So I'm going to give the durability here a 5 out of 5, just looking at the actual shoe, because the shoe is like pretty much in pristine, perfect condition. Okay, now I'm going to rate these based on performance. Just a quick disclaimer, I am a beginner climber, so I am not very good at performing in the first place. So honestly, it might be more on me and not on the shoes. So take this with a grain of salt. I don't really want to judge these shoes too harshly for how well I perform on the wall, because I'm not really the best climber yet and I'm still improving. So starting out with toe hooks, I actually don't really do many toe hooks. I think I might have done like 1 or 2 just to practice them, or just to like try them out, see if they work. But honestly, I don't really know how to do toe hooks that well yet. Actually, I have done a toe hook. It was in an overhang. I've tried to do a few toe hooks, and honestly, I felt that it was hard to hold the toe hooks. My toe usually just kind of slid out from behind the holds. I couldn't really hold the toe hook that well. That being said, though, there is a part of rubber on the top of the shoe that kind of goes over the shoe here, and same thing on the other one. So I feel like that makes it easier to do toe hooks. So I think toe hooks are pretty good. I think I just need to get better at them, to be honest. Heel hooks, I have actually done a heel hook. I just learned how to do a heel hook, which is really cool because it allowed me to send a V3 that I've been working on for quite a while and that I have been struggling with. So the shoes actually held the heel hook really, really well. You can see the rubber that goes all the way up the back of the shoe. It held the heel hook really well. Honestly, I actually fell from the heel hook once, and like it held it up, not while I was falling, but just like right before I was going to fall. So it really, really held the heel hook very well. I would say that heel hooks at these shoes do just great. Overhangs, I guess I can kind of relate that to toe hooks because you do a lot of toe hooks and overhangs, at least I usually do. That being said, I'm really, really bad at overhangs, so I don't really want to judge the shoes based on them, but I haven't really been able to do any overhangs yet. So I'm gonna say that it's just on my skill, but I will say that, yeah, I'm actually not gonna say anything more about overhangs because I think it's just on my skill. The last thing is small holds. So how well do these shoes grip small holds? And I will be completely honest, I do not think these shoes grip small holds as well as some other shoes like Scarpa. I have tried on a pair of Scarpas. They were a few sizes down. They weren't really the right size, so I didn't end up buying them. But when I tried on the pair of Scarpas, they were able to grab the smallest toe hooks I've ever seen. Or not toe hooks, but shoe footholds. Okay, footholds that I've ever seen, and they really, really held well to those tiny, like crimpy footholds. And these ones do very well too, but I just felt like I had a lot more control in the Scarpas on those like super, super small crimpy footholds. Literally every other normal size footholds and regularly small footholds, these ones do amazing on. You can see kind of how narrow the toes are. The toes aren't super, super narrow, but they do kind of like concave up here, if that's even a term. But I would say that these are very good at still grabbing small holds and pretty much all kind of holds, and they're still like, they still kind of stick to the holds. Like you don't really find yourself slipping or anything. I think the rubber is really good quality. So overall, I would grade this a 4.7 out of 5 just because of the comparison to the Scarpas with those like tiny, super crimpy toe hooks. But that's being like so harsh. These are great shoes and they're really great for performance, I would say. Okay, now I'm going to do how they look. As you've already seen, this is how they look. So this particular style is yellow laces with 3 different shades of gray. Unless the bottom is black, I can't really tell because there's chalk on it right now, but honestly, I like this style. I'm not super picky with like colors or like really how shoes look, to be honest, so I think they look really cool though. Like the different shades and the yellow laces, I think they're a pretty stylish shoe in my opinion. And there's not too much going on, like they're pretty simple and slick, so I like how they look. And they're also like pretty narrow. They're a pretty narrow shoe. And I like how the toes kind of like get narrower at the top too, because it makes it easier for me to grip really small footholds. So honestly, I really like the style and I really like how they look. And also the laces kind of do match this yellow part of the shoe and the Evolve logo. So I think that's actually really cool as well. So I would grade the style a 5 out of 5. Okay, now this is the 6th category that I'm going to be rating, and the final category that I'm going to be reviewing these shoes on, and that is price. Probably the one that a lot of people have been waiting for. These shoes were around $100. It might have been with tax, honestly. It was somewhere in the range of like 90 to 110. I honestly kind of forget the price. Let me check the box, I can maybe see. Okay, the price was not on the box. So I actually do forget the exact price. There's no receipt in here. Okay, there's no receipt in here. So I do forget the exact price. This is what the box looks like if you're curious. Just a regular Evolve box, and it actually, I dropped one of the shoes, it's okay. Okay, it's all good. So this is kind of like tells you about some of the different kinds of rubber that they make and just kind of like what they're suited for, which is pretty cool. It's just a regular shoe box. Other than that, it's just a little bit smaller and narrower because the shoes are smaller and narrower than regular shoes. But they were like one of the cheapest shoes at the place that I bought them, and that's good for me because I'm a beginner. I didn't want to buy a shoe that was too expensive just in case it wasn't the right fit or it wasn't feeling super good on the wall, and I wanted to, you know what I mean, and it just didn't really feel the best. So I got like a cheaper shoe, but honestly, I love this shoe for the price. These are super high quality shoes, I would say, for how much they cost. Well, $100 is still like pretty expensive, but like they're super worth it. I would definitely recommend these shoes, of course. So honestly, I would say the price is a 5 out of 5. Being a beginner, I can't really compare these to other shoes, and I don't really know exactly how the pricing of climbing shoes works and like if they would really be good for the money or whatever, as people say. So I can't really judge that super well, but I think they're definitely great quality, and the price was pretty fair in my opinion. So I would give it a 5 out of 5 on the price as well. That being said, I think that the final score for these shoes is a 29.7 out of 30. I would do the math and cut it up on the screen because I just said it on my head, so it might not actually be accurate, but I would say these shoes are pretty much perfect. They're really great, especially for a beginner. They suit all my needs, and I'm not like a super technical climber or anything, so they don't need to do anything crazy, and they don't need to be too expensive. So I would really highly recommend these shoes if you're ever looking for a pair of shoes, especially as a beginner. But even as an intermediate climber, I feel like they would still do well on like V4s, V5s, maybe V6s. And honestly, I don't really understand how the grades work when they're like above like V5, V6. I've seen like few people do like V7 pluses, but I'm sure they'd still be pretty good on those too. They just seem like great shoes in general. Just in case you guys were wondering, the exact type of the shoe is Defy Lace with fog gray and banana colors. So that's what it's actually called from the box, if you were wondering and wanted to get the same ones. As a recap, I would get around a half size up of your normal shoe size. That's what I did, but of course every shoe and everybody's feet is going to be different, so don't just take my word for it. I would definitely try it out at the shop. But yeah, at the store, I would definitely ask the people there to let you try on a few different sizes, and I would try them on the wall as well as walk around with them, because it really helps if you try them on in both those places, especially the wall. Some personal notes about these shoes is that number one, I think they smell like really good, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but since you're climbing, and I climb without socks, which I think is better because I can just grip things better and I fit better into the shoes, and they kind of like stretch to the size of my feet, and I think that would happen worse if you were wearing socks when you were climbing. So I wear these without socks, and you would think that if you're wearing shoes without socks and climbing for like quite a while in them that they smell, but actually these shoes don't smell at all. Like if I smell them, they just smell like new shoes. They still have that like new shoe smell. So I'd say that they smell pretty good, which is kind of cool and kind of random. But yeah, they make me feel super confident on the wall. They make me feel super great on the wall. Honestly, I would assume that these are also super good outside. I would also assume that shoes might wear down more quickly outside because of the sharpness of the actual rock that you're climbing on instead of climbing on like plastic holds inside. But I honestly don't know. Maybe it's the opposite, or maybe it just depends on the exact wall that you're climbing. But I would absolutely get these again. These are like a backup for me. I wanted to try another different shoe next time just so I can kind of try out more bands and maybe try a Scarpa. But honestly, I would definitely get these again, especially if I didn't have time to buy shoes or like didn't have time to try them on or something like that. These are a great shoe. I already know the size that works for me, and I feel great on the wall with them. So I would definitely buy these again. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. I have a lot more content on the way, and I also hope to do more gear reviews in the future. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll try my best to answer as many of them as I can. And yeah, I'd really recommend these shoes. They're pretty great. I genuinely just didn't have many bad things to say about these shoes because I just don't have anything bad to say about them. They just feel great in pretty much in every single way. So remember that if you buy shoes and they hurt a little bit at the beginning and your toes are curled up at the front, that's supposed to happen. They're supposed to fit the size of your foot eventually, but definitely talk to the people at your local shop or wherever you're buying shoes about it, and probably look on some forums online too, because a lot of people are more knowledgeable than me as I'm just a beginner. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm trying to not make my outro so long, so sorry if this was like too long, but